and welcome. I'm Melinda Kimami. Tonight, the clock is ticking as Nigeria goes to the polls tomorrow to elect leaders for the next 4 years. The attack in Kaduna local government area of Kaduna State as Governor Nasir El-Rufai confirmed 66 people killed. Judiciary witnesses one of its biggest focus ever as suspended Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onogen, appears before the Code of Conduct Tribunal, granted bail on self-recognition. And on the foreign scene, dozens of paramilitary police killed in Kashmir bombing.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's inflation figure meets analyst forecast falls to 11.37% in January, down from 11.44% recorded in December.
On sports news tonight, Manchester United manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer confirms that forwards Jesse Lingard and Anthony Martial will be out for 2 to 3 weeks.
And from Abuja, a new dawn in Bayelsa State following the inaugural commercial flight to its international airport in Amasoma, southern Ijo.
The nation is in another phase and will be going to the polls tomorrow to elect its leaders. Every 20 years, nations experience landmarks and historic events, and this country will be observing that crucial landmark on Saturday. Reports from the INEC headquarters in Abuja confirm that the electoral umpire have begun distributing sensitive and non-sensitive materials across the country. Now, let's give you some of the statistics of the voters who will be participating tomorrow. INEC says 84,040,084 names, representing a 20% increase from the last election, have been registered. Of this figure, the Northwest Geopolitical Zone has the highest number of registered voters in the country, with a total of 20,158,100 voters. The Southwest Zone comes second with 16,292,212. The North Central is next with 14,037,676 votes, while the South has 12,841,279 registered voters. Now, the Northeast has 11,289,293 voters, while the Southeast has the lowest number of voters with 10,557,130 registered voters. Now, before we take more stories on tomorrow's election, we'll bring you this sad news from Kaduna State, where at least 66 persons were killed by gunmen at Marugida and Iri communities in Kaduna local government area of that state. Now, amongst the victims are 22 children and 12 women. 4 persons were also said to have been injured. This attack, which happened on Tuesday night, is coming less than 24 hours to the conduct of the presidential and parliamentary elections. The governor of the state, Nasir El-Rufai, condemns the attack, promising that security operatives will bring the perpetrators to justice.
I got a report of the killing of about 66 Fulanis in Maro, in Kajuru local government, which is quite tragic. These deliberate killings were designed to attract reprisals and destabilize that local government during the elections. But the security agencies are containing the situation, and I'll be visiting to also calm down frayed nerves, and some arrests have been made already. So we are confident that the elections will pass on uneventfully. I think the security agencies have anticipated all the areas where there are likely to be electoral disruptions and are taking necessary measures. Conflict helps no one. There are examples around the world, from Syria to Lebanon. We have seen the consequences of lack of peace. Those that think that they can initiate trouble and will be able to predict its outcome are making a grave mistake. My appeal to them is to allow peace to reign, to remember that we will stand before God on the day of judgment and defend all our actions. No one should be involved in the taking of another human life. And my appeal to them is to cease and desist. However, as the Chief Security Officer of the state, it is my duty to ensure that every measure is put in place to protect everyone, and those that violate our laws are brought to justice, and we'll do that without fear or favor.
And while the governor of Kaduna State is trying to fish out the perpetrators of that attack in neighboring Kano State, the relocation of some non-indigents from the metropolis less than 24 hours to the presidential polls for the fear of post-election violence is becoming a cause for concern. Now, some of them living in Sabongeri area of Kano metropolis say they have fears of a repeat of the 2011 post-election violence, where mostly non-indigents of the state were affected. Channels Television gathered that despite the assurance from security agencies that all measures are being put in place to prevent any post-election violence, the non-indigents are still living in droves. Major motor parks have been bustling with people finding their way out of town, but a few others are staying back to cast their vote.
It's just 24 hours for Nigerians to decide on who becomes the next president of the country. But in Sabongeri area of Kano metropolis, mainly inhabited by non-indigents, have been witnessing an exodus of residents to various locations across the country. A major reason for this is the experience of 2011, which resulted in a post-election violence and consequently affected some of them. Madam Abike, who is just about to travel, narrates all the inconvenience that comes with having to relocate with the family. Despite the security assurance, she says she must travel out of Kano.
It's not convenient at all, stopping children from going to school because of them. We don't have to run for our life. We have to run so that, you know, for our safety.
If you do not see fire, you can't run. Because of what they have saw in the previous election that motivated them to leave the state.
In a recent meeting with stakeholders, the Deputy Inspector General of Police expresses the force readiness to protect lives and property.
My plea is with the public. The election is coming. It's not the first time elections are conducted in this country. The electorate should vote peacefully. They should conduct themselves peacefully at all the polling stations. After voting, they can go back home.
As you can see, the park is very busy with people finding their way out of town. While these non-indigents are bent on traveling and are making preparation for their journey, there are those who are staying back to cast their votes. In order to reverse this trend, the security of lives and property must become sacrosanct amidst an electoral process devoid of rancor. From Sabongeri, Kano State, Nanchen Vincent, Channels Television News.
From the north, let's head south now to Edo State, where the sensitive and non-sensitive materials are yet to be moved from the central bank premises in Benin City. And this is creating tension as some politicians and their supporters are gathering around that place. They say they will not leave until the materials have been dispersed. Our correspondent, Colin Sosai, is there and has this report. I guess we'll get details of that report in a moment. But let's join our correspondent, Larry Lasisi, who is live in Adamawa State, to give us an update of how people are getting ready for the polls tomorrow. Hello, Larry.
Hello. Well, here everyone appears to be going about their business from early this morning. There appears to be more anxiety here. Everything is calm. People are together. Give him up. This Friday, people went to the park without any incident. So, we were at the INEC office very earlier today. We understand all the materials have been people no incident there. General air here is that they're just waiting for the election. Even though we do understand that a lot of people appear to have left the city center and gone to wherever their homes are,
wherever they are registered to vote in preparation for the vote early tomorrow. So it's calm here and everyone is getting ready for the elections.
What about security? Did you notice more boots on the ground?
Well, around town, there's been no sense of extra security. But at the INEC office, when they were trying to move the materials, yes, there was that concentration of security. And from there, they went out. After that, the security kind of went down a bit. But, usually at the INEC office, there's this level of security always. But that heightened when the materials were there, but immediately afterwards it relaxed a bit. But in town, like I said, people have been driving around, going about their normal businesses. Traffic here and there, which I'm told is normal, but nothing extra, no extra security that we observed in town.
Many thanks, our correspondent Larry Lasisi reporting live from Adamawa State. And the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, is again reassuring the international community that the Nigerian police force will ensure the security of the electorate. The IGP was speaking while hosting members of the International Election Observer Mission made up of the former President of Botswana, former President of Latvia, and former Vice President of Zambia. He says officers and men of the force have been trained in election security management.
We promised the nation that we are going to be professional and unbiased in our management of the election. And since then, that is the line we have told. And for the multitude of the police officers that we have in the country, which are supported by other security agencies, in order to protect the process, we have trained all our personnel in election security management. They were trained in physical protection of INEC structures so that they cannot be attacked. They have been trained on protecting the INEC personnel and also the essential materials. We've deployed our personnel to guide and also escort the electoral materials from Central Bank to INEC office, from INEC office to be distributed to all the polling units in the country.
Still on election matters, security and paramilitary agencies promised to secure the lives of the electorate before, during and after the general elections. Now, the agencies, which consist the Nigeria Police Force, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Federal Road Safety Corps and the Office of the Chief of Defense Staff, insist that measures are already in place to ensure a hitch-free exercise.
The moment is finally here, when Nigerians will be going to the polls to elect their leaders. To ensure a smooth process, the Nigeria Police Force is assuring voters of security.
As a matter of fact, the election monitoring and intelligence team operatives have been out for over 2 weeks. On the basis of the intelligence report they'll be turning in, we've also been able to perfect our deployment strategies.
The Corps Marshal confirms the readiness of the Corps for the election, stating that it has already carried out about 9 of the assignments given to it by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), with the 10th one to be done on election day.
And the essence of this workshop is to be able to prepare our personnel very well for what is expected, the roles and responsibility of the Corps.
Officials of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps are also part of the process, as the Deputy Commandant of the Corps in charge of operations explains that over 60,000 officers have been deployed across the country to ensure adequate security during the elections.
For this election, we are going to deploy 60,000 personnel. During elections, people believe it's only election. You put our eyes only on election, but there are other areas that we deploy our men.
With the security measures in place, the Nigerian Armed Forces warns persons planning to camouflage as military men to harass voters that it will not tolerate any act capable of disrupting a peaceful electioneering process. The Chief of Defense Staff, who said this in Abuja, disclosed that intelligence report has revealed plans by some persons to impersonate military men to disrupt the elections.
We are not unaware of plans to illegally use uniforms of military, paramilitary agencies to impersonate security and law enforcement agencies, illegal possession of and use of firearms to intimidate and harass members of the public, and other acts likely to cause security breaches.
The February 16 election is for the purpose of electing a president and members of the National Assembly, while state governors and members of the state houses of assembly are expected to be elected on the 2nd of March 2019.
In part 2, after the break, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, releases hotlines against electoral fraud, asks Nigerians to report any case of electoral malpractice. Join us again.